no more poor. There ain't no more billionaires. There's a far more humane society out there. You see that? I don't. When that comes, then we can let go of this book. It hasn't happened in my lifetime, and I'm betting it ain't going to. I'm betting it ain't gonna happen in yours. But things can get better and can reflect discipleship. That's really the most important thing. Not that we end up on top, the winners, but we end up following the book and the discipleship. That's the presumption.
Don't you think letting go of that book is the thing that sets like America in the wrong place in general? I mean, like that's kind of what I'm thinking, and I think if you let go of that book, you fall right back into the things that the teaching of the Bible go against.
I am only suggesting this as a lark. I was trying to be comical. When I see a world not dominated by empire, then we can let go of this book. But the fact is, this book is important precisely because we live in empire. Because it was written by a guy who gave us an example of how to live in empire. And he wasn't born of the rich. This guy was born of a peasant in Galilee, and a dominant race that the Romans dominated, as did the Egyptians, as did the Persians, as did the Babylonians, as did the Assyrians, as did the Egyptians. These people got empire all over them. It's a book about being against it. That's what I see. That's how I read it. Now you're saying, like, when can we get rid of the book? When we get rid of empire? Well, I think that's kind of silly. We're not even close.
Well, I think even if we get close, we should not get rid of the book.
Fair enough. I love the book. I love the guy. I'm not giving him up the rest of my life. I don't see it changing that much. Yeah, I'm all for it. Yeah, fair enough.
Why do you think young people aren't getting involved in the church? Or getting involved in Christianity in general?
Well, okay. I have spent the last hour trying to tell you that what goes for Christianity right now is in the toilet.
Yeah.
So I could tell you why I think kids pick up on the fact that what goes for Christianity is in the toilet. But if they do, they're not picking it up for the reasons I think Christianity's in the toilet. Because it doesn't matter what your faith is in this country. Everybody believes in wealth, war, and empire. You could be an atheist, and you're still as much committed as your friend the Catholic with wealth, war, and empire. True religion is what you give your allegiance to. A lot of people gave their allegiance to the University of Iowa the last few weeks, don't you think? And the basketball scene. Allegiance is where your faith is. If you invested more in the University of Iowa women's basketball team than you did with giving someone a bowl of soup who was hungry, you pretty much, who cares whether you're Catholic or not? Does that make sense? But to answer your question on the whole, probably because they're boring. And the last thing you want to be in this culture is boring. Yeah. Okay.
You still got 19 more minutes.
Brutal. So the rabbit and the duck thing, is that good?
Yeah.
Because that really is, I mean, I try to, in my own mind, I'm trying to think about how to explain this divide between us and the scripture that keeps us away from the book. as it really is. And, I don't wanna, I blame the creeds, but I don't mean the creed in the 2nd century, I don't mean the creed in the 5th century, I don't mean the creed in the 8th century, damn, I don't mean the creed any other century except in my lifetime. I feel like, if we speak for our own time as it interacts with this book, we're doing what we need to do. So I'm not saying the creeds weren't working when they first invented them, and when they used them or even practiced them. What I'm telling you right now is, you could fully believe in the creeds of your churches and not get close to practicing what Christianity's all about. So it's not that creeds I'm not saying they're wrong, I'm saying something even far more damaging. They're not working. It doesn't get you close to Jesus. And if you're in this country, you can believe all the creeds and still be pro-rich, pro-war, pro-US Empire. You don't follow Jesus to the cross. You help put him on the cross. That's what we do in this country. We're the best killers in the world. You gotta know that. I mean, like, everybody's upset with Putin and his war crimes, and they are war crimes, but is anybody gonna talk about our war crimes in the Middle East and our willy-nilly killing people with drones? And I mean, this country is so blind to our own criminal behavior to be pointing fingers at an old Russian, ugly czarist type person. Now, sure, the Russians are a second-rate empire. That's why they have all their wars on their borders. We have all our wars on their borders too. Anybody notice that? Why are the Chinese upset with us? Because we're on their borders, covering their seas with our military. Really? Our budget, military budget, higher than like the top 3, 4, 8 countries in the world, friends and foes together? I mean, what is this, crazy? I picked up on this back in the 70s with the arms race. We were always worried about the Russians, winning the arms race, and then to find out that whatever improvement the Russians got, they stole from us. So how can we be losing at the arms race if the Russians are always stealing from us? Hey, what are you gonna do? PR is what this thing's about, and addictions. Yeah. And what I see in our homeless population and the people we live with is the addiction to stuff. But that's not a poverty problem. That's a wealth problem. Everybody's addicted to their stuff. It's amazing. And nothing suits a capitalist system than independent nuclear families that aren't intergenerational, that everybody takes care of themselves. And if the divorce rate goes up, that means there's 2 different houses, even better for the economy. I mean, this is so bad the way we live family life. It's not good. Yeah.
With all of these systemic issues you're talking about, they're like ginormous institutions in our country, and like you said, they've been in place for decades and centuries. So how do you start chipping away at this?
You read the New Testament, there are actions that individuals do with other individuals in a commune way, in which they put themselves in direct jeopardy with the system by virtue of, there are basically 2 things that the disciples are doing after Jesus in the book of Acts. I mean, they're either offering hospitality or they're being given hospitality. So lifestyle is very important to manifest the beliefs and live in the bottoms with the riffraff and the no accounts that aren't going to be successful. This is a loser story. how to make a guy who's dies on a cross look good. That's what we got, and it's based on love. St. Paul's thing in chapter 13 Corinthians, I think it is, love is this, love is that, love is this. I used to think really like, oh, mushy, mushy. At my age now, it's not mushy, it's impossible. Who can live and love that good? That's the mark. Now that's what we gotta aim for, that kind of love. It's a personal thing with you and God and the cosmic Christ. That's what the story is. I'm not making this up. They're saying follow me and you will be satisfied. And what I'm trying to tell you is I have a lifetime of bone deep satisfaction about trying to hit the mark. I don't do it well, I get that. But I'm confident that I know when I'm serving someone food, or I'm working in community so that we can have the house clean for the people who are coming, so that I spend my allegiance and my time is spent with this project of living in community and feeding people and taking care of people. My brother Joe is a retired principal. Holy man you can't get at St. Anthony's. He volunteers once a week at our place. He has to move heaven and earth to get over there every week. All I do is roll out of bed, and I'm automatically serving the poor. You guys, this is a luxury. When I told that judge I could take those whatever time you give me, and she gives me 30 days to go to jail, I felt like I was the freest person in that courtroom, because I knew my community would carry on and everybody would be happy. Half the people I was living with would be happy I'm gone for a month, and the other half of the people would be happy when I came back. That's family life. But that I can live that way, that's a blessing.
And don't worry, Frank, I knew she was leaving at 12:15. She wasn't leaving on your count.
Who's that?
Don't worry, I knew she was leaving at 12:15.
Oh, yeah, fair enough. God, I gotta talk again. That's gonna be very hard. I'll figure it out.
You still got, let's see here, you've got 12 minutes if you'd like to use it. You can tell them about all the banging on the airplanes.
Oh, I did a plowshares action in 1998. A plowshares action is one of these peace people. The Berrigans started. A couple of Catholic priests back in the Vietnam era. They did the jackboard card burnings, and that became quite popular and really had a dent in the draft system as it was then. Then after that, they took to taking hammers to weapon systems, trying to enact the Isaiah beat your swords into plowshares witness. And I took a hammer to a B-52 bomber at Andrews Air Force Base with another priest, 2 nuns, and a Catholic worker. Yeah, and that's a serious action. We were looking at several felonies up to 21 years in jail, but the prosecutor in Southern Maryland had better things to do, so they just dropped it down to a misdemeanor, less than $1,000 damage. I mean, like, we put holes inside on the side of a B-52 bomber at an air show, was on display. So they had to replace at least and then went inside the guts. They let us see it. We only had 2 minutes to act. I mean, there was, and then the cops had us down on our noses on the tarmac, and thousands of people watching what's happening. I always tell people, well, we only had 2 minutes to act, but if they gave us enough time, we would have used those hammers, beat the machine into pieces, and then reform it into a usable instrument. But we only had 2 minutes, so we just got to put the mark on it, and then speak to it, that this is what we need to do in this country. And since our leadership won't do it, since the den of thieves who run our churches aren't going to do it, we have to act out in the same spirit as Jesus would have us act out as the Prince of Peace who came to beat your swords into plowshares. It's one of the directives of the New Testament through Isaiah, one of the good prophets. Yeah. And they've been doing these acts